new paradigm comes in, there's a huge struggle that goes on. And the classic case, which I just want to go over briefly because it's relevant to consciousness, is what happened 500 years ago with the Copernican revolution. And before that, the old worldview was the Earth was the center of the universe, and everything went round the Earth, and in perfect circles, because Plato said there's the Earth and there's the heavens are perfect, perfect motion is circular motion, therefore everything in the heavens has to move on a circle, which was true of all the stars, but the sun, moon, and the 5 visible planets didn't move in perfect circles. And so there was this question of why they were moving against the stars. And what the medieval astronomers did was come up with these ideas, sticking to circles. They had, well, maybe there were circles rolling around circles. And if you had a circle rolling around a circle carrying a planet, then sometimes it would go faster when it was at the top of the circle, and then it would go slow at the bottom, even go backwards. And they started playing with these things called epicycles. And that got a bit better, but it wasn't quite accurate enough, so they put more circles rolling around the circles, and they started shifting the axes around, and they started getting things like this to try and explain it. And it got more and more cumbersome until along came Copernicus, who said 2 things. The first he said was the Earth spins, which everybody thought was absolutely stupid, because it's absolutely obvious that the Earth is still, right? I mean, nothing's flying around this room. They argue, they said quite logically at the time, if the Earth is spinning, all the oceans would slop up on one side. A bowl of water would all slop up on one side. It doesn't, it's flat. Therefore, the Earth is not moving. Don't be stupid. The second thing he said, which would have got him into a lot of trouble, except he didn't really say it till just before he died. He was a churchman. He was actually quite cautious about the Vatican. He said the Earth is a planet orbiting the sun, and everybody thought that was not just stupid, it was heretical. And then we know the story. Along came Galileo about 60 years later and looked through his telescope and found evidence for it, and the bishop said, don't be silly, we're not even going to look down your telescope. And then the other thing that happened exactly the same time was Kepler. He was looking at the actual orbits, and he realized the orbits weren't circles. It all made sense if the orbits were ellipses. He had no idea why they were ellipses rather than circles, but he broke the thing with Plato. Copernicus still stuck to Plato's idea of circles. And then it was actually later still, another 40 years after that, Sir Isaac Newton came along and actually showed that the laws of heaven and the laws of earth were the same. And when he did that, he realized that all orbits were ellipses and the whole thing made sense. But it took nearly 150 years for that revolution to happen. And so what Kuhn showed was there's a number of phases we go through. First, the existing paradigm encounters an anomaly. An anomaly is an inexplicable observation, something you can't deny but can't explain. And the planets were the anomaly there. In fact, the word planet means to wander in Greek. Planeta is wander. The wandering stars were the planets. Then what happens? Initially, the anomaly is ignored or sometimes rejected. It isn't really happening. Then, as it builds up, people try to explain it within the existing paradigm. That's the epicycles. Then a new paradigm is proposed in which the anomaly is resolved, but that's usually rejected, often ridiculed. And then finally, it gets accepted as it begins to explain things better. This isn't a new idea. Of course, Schopenhauer put it much better earlier. Every truth passes through 3 stages before it's recognized. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's opposed. Third, it's regarded as self-evident. Max Planck, talking about the same thing, said, a new scientific idea, truth, does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die.